Every bomb dropped, every tank deployed, every soldier fed. None of it happens without money first. Modern wars are not just fought on battlefields. They are financed in boardrooms, central banks, and quiet offices of arms manufacturers. It's tempting to think wars are driven purely by ideology, religion, or power. But behind every flag raised, there's a ledger. Behind every declaration, there's a loan. War is expensive, staggeringly expensive, and yet nations that can't afford them still wage them. Why? Because someone always steps in to finance the fight. During World War I, Britain borrowed billions from American banks to keep its war machine alive. In World War II, U.S. industry supplied not only its own military, but also its allies, financed by government bonds bought by ordinary citizens. Behind the patriotic posters was a cold truth. War became the single greatest economic stimulus in history. This is the story we rarely hear. That modern warfare has become less about national survival and more about sustaining a financial empire, a network of banks, corporations, and governments that discovered long ago that war is the most profitable business ever devised. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Modern wars would be impossible without financiers. During WWI, the House of Morgan acted as Britain's unofficial treasury in America, extending enormous credit lines. By 1917, J.P. Morgan & Co. had underwritten billions in Allied purchases. The bank wasn't neutral. It was invested in victory. The Rothschild banking family had played similar roles for centuries, financing both governments and wars. In the Napoleonic era, their networks ensured armies had gold when states could not. In WWI, Morgan did the same, but on an industrial scale. This wasn't charity, it was business. The profits were immense. Banks collected interest on massive loans, underwrote arms contracts, and emerged from the war stronger than ever. Critics asked, was American neutrality compromised because bankers had too much to lose if the Allies failed? It's a haunting question. When profit and politics intertwine, can a nation truly remain neutral? The financiers of modern wars weren't generals, but they were power brokers just as decisive. Wars created demand, and demand created profits. And once banks realized that victory could be monetized, war financing became a permanent institution. World War II confirmed what World War I hinted. Modern wars are won as much in factories as in fields. President Franklin D. Roosevelt called America the arsenal of democracy, and he wasn't exaggerating. General Motors, Ford, Boeing, DuPont, giant corporations transformed their plants into war machines. Automobiles became tanks, refrigerators became ammunition, nylon stockings became parachutes. But none of this would have been possible without massive government contracts, and those contracts were financed by unprecedented debt. War bonds flooded the market. Ordinary Americans were urged to lend their savings to the government. It was framed as patriotic duty, but in reality, it was a vast transfer of wealth. Citizens loaned the state money, corporations got the contracts, and Wall Street banks managed the flows. After the war, the corporations didn't shrink back. They had tasted the profits of militarization. Cold War defense budgets kept factories humming. A permanent war economy was born, with debt as its lifeblood. The arsenal of democracy was not just about defending freedom. It was about building an economic empire sustained by war itself. If hot wars made bankers rich, the Cold War made them immortal. The U.S. defense industry realized that even without global conflict, fear could sustain profits. The Soviet threat justified massive defense budgets year after year. Nuclear arsenals, aircraft carriers, missile defense systems, all financed through taxpayer debt. For corporations like Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman, this was a golden age. The Cold War was not just a geopolitical standoff. It was a permanent economic model. Endless spending, endless contracts, endless debt. Politicians spoke of defending democracy. Corporations saw guaranteed profits. Think tanks, lobbyists, and defense analysts reinforced the cycle, ensuring the public always felt threatened enough to justify more spending. War had become industrialized, not just militarily, but financially. Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, conflicts that lasted years, even decades. Why? Partly politics, but also because war had become too profitable to end quickly. The Vietnam War fueled defense contractors with billions. Helicopter makers, chemical companies, and munitions factories thrived. Protesters demanded peace, but shareholders saw dividends. The post-9/11 wars brought the same logic into the 21st century. Companies like Halliburton and Blackwater secured multi-billion-dollar contracts. Reconstruction became as profitable as destruction. The longer the wars lasted, the more money flowed. This is the dark secret. Wars are rarely fought to be won. They are fought to be financed. Endless conflicts mean endless contracts. Endless borrowing, endless debt. And while soldiers died, while civilians suffered, while nations crumbled, the financial empire behind modern wars grew stronger than ever. Wars are not only financed by debt, they create debt. Trillions in war spending are borrowed, not paid up front. The Iraq and Afghanistan wars alone added more than $6 trillion to America's obligations. Who profits? Banks that issue government bonds, defense companies with guaranteed contracts, investors who see war debt as safe returns. Debt ensures wars are invisible to taxpayers in the short term. Instead of immediate sacrifice, costs are spread across generations. Children not yet born are already paying for wars fought decades earlier. This is how the financial empire wins twice. First from weapons contracts, then from interest payments on the debt created to buy those weapons. It is a cycle so efficient, it almost looks designed. From Mesopotamia to Afghanistan, the story remains. War is never free. It is financed, borrowed, leveraged, and in the modern era, this financing is not a side note. It is the main event. The financial empire behind modern wars is not a conspiracy. It is a system. A machine that converts blood into balance sheets, destruction into dividends, suffering into quarterly earnings. Empires once fought for land or glory. Today, wars are fought for profitability. And as long as banks, corporations, and governments profit, the cycle will continue. The tragedy is not just that wars kill, it is that they are engineered to pay, and the bill is always passed down, to taxpayers, to future generations, to the forgotten. Wars end on paper, but the debts they create live on. That is the secret the financial empire doesn't want you to see. Because once you understand that modern war is not just geopolitics, but economics, you begin to see the world differently. Wars are not accidents. They are investments. And the profits are measured not in lives saved, but in interest earned.